Welcome back to Nokus Reality, your front row seat to the most explosive stories behind the velvet ropes of reality television. Today, we dive into a gripping downfall that has stunned pop culture fans everywhere. For years, the Real Housewives of New Jersey icon Teresa Giudice told the world she had finally found her fairy tale with Louie Ruelas. Their lavish wedding, complete with towering hair and endless vows of eternal love, was marketed as Teresa's ultimate redemption arc. But behind the filtered Instagram posts and multi-million-dollar lifestyle, an alarming financial crisis was quietly gathering strength. Mounting government tax liens exceeding $3 million, hidden loans, covert sightings, and whispers of a secret relationship quickly turned paradise into a battleground. When financial chaos collided with emotional betrayal, Teresa had to face a terrifying realization. History was threatening to repeat itself. How did a celebrated romance unravel into multi-million-dollar liens, secret press confessions, and an inevitable split? Grab your coffee, settle in, and hit that subscribe button. Because the truth behind Teresa and Louie's unraveling marriage is far darker and more complex than the cameras ever captured. To understand the sheer panic that tore through Teresa Giudice's world when news of fresh legal troubles surfaced, you have to remember where she came from. 10 years ago, Teresa found herself in a federal courtroom where a judge sentenced her to 11 months in jail for financial fraud. That traumatic incident changed her deeply. Basically, she was in jail for over a year, away from her 4 girls, seeing her whole life fall apart in real time, in her absence from the cameras. As Teresa stepped out of prison, she vowed on all she held holy that she would never let mismanagement of money jeopardize her freedom or the security of her family again. She spent years recreating her empire from scratch, producing bestsellers, starting businesses, clawing her way back to financial safety. She acquired houses, paid down debts, and became protective of her financial freedom to a fierce degree. Enter Louie Ruelas, a charming businessman promising stability, emotional devotion, and a drama-free marriage. Teresa thought she had finally earned her quiet death. But the reality TV celebrity has a way of stripping away every layer of seclusion. As court documents began to leak to the main news desk, the public realized the couple was drowning under large government tax liens totaling over $3 million. For Teresa, those legal warnings weren't simply an unpleasant headline. They were an instant emotional return of her darkest dread. The trauma of 2014 washed over him all at once. She froze with panic at the notion of the IRS showing up at her front door, of her assets being seized, of her girls seeing yet another parental financial problem on the national stage. It was as if the very foundation of safety she'd spent years establishing was crumbling to dust. She was no longer dealing with reality television talk. She was facing down the barrel of serious legal consequences. It was the summer of 2020 on the sandy dunes of the Jersey Shore when Louie Ruelas first entered Teresa Giudice's life and appeared to be the answer to every prayer she'd ever shouted. Louie was charming, emotionally affectionate, and amazingly magnetic, masquerading as a rich, self-made entrepreneur in the digital marketing industry. He swept Teresa off her feet with grandiose love gestures, luxurious presence, and persistent emotional reassurances. After years of public humiliation, personal heartache, and the painful deportation of her ex-husband Joe, Teresa really believed at last she had found her true mate, a protective spouse who would bring her lasting serenity. But beneath the gleaming grin and bespoke expensive outfits, Louie carried a tangled and dark past that began sounding alarm bells almost immediately. Soon, wary longtime Bravo fans and castmates began to investigate into his background, revealing a convoluted path of legal troubles. Louie co-founded Digital Media Solutions, and he'd been working deep within the cutthroat world of digital lead generation, an operation that soon found itself engaged in federal class action lawsuits over alleged consumer privacy violations and unlawful telemarketing activities. Further inquiry uncovered complicated corporate bankruptcy filings, unpaid vendor claims from suppliers, and acrimonious lawsuit complaints from former connections that presented a progressively alarming picture. What was more disturbing was Louie's apparent ease with high-stakes financial maneuverings and dubious business ventures. He built an image of effortless and unlimited wealth, chartering private yachts, spending costly international holidays, and purchasing a grandiose multi-million-dollar Montville mansion for their blended family. But public documents presented a much more precarious picture. Meanwhile, debts were piling up. Hush-hush company loans and private liabilities were being accrued. But every time these very obvious red flags were put to Teresa straight on camera, she vehemently denied all of them, calling all of the warnings mean gossip stirred up by jealous cast members. She was so taken with their love bubble that she notably failed to ask for a prenup, accepting his verbal reassurances without inquiry. Louie had sold her a beguiling fairy tale of total financial and emotional comfort. But as his knotted corporate ledger began to dovetail with Teresa's hard-earned brand, the fissures in the foundation were gradually spreading, leading to a terrible multi-million-dollar denouement. The facade of impeccable affluence eventually imploded in March when public court filings went off across entertainment headlines. For months now, Bravo watchers had been whispering discreetly between themselves that the wrought iron gates of the Montville property were hiding some financial shakiness. But nothing could have prepared fans or Teresa herself for the sheer weight of the formal files. Public records showed the couple was slammed with large government tax liens totaling more than $3 million, pulling their private ledger into the unforgiving spotlight of public responsibility. A tax lien is not simply a warning letter. It is the government's formal legal claim to a person's real estate, earnings, and personal property if the taxpayer has failed to pay his or her tax arrears for an extended period of time. This is a disastrous proclamation for ordinary people. For a reality TV princess whose whole public comeback was based on defeating financial disaster, it was an earthquake. The story went from glitzy cast drama to severe legal vulnerability overnight, and it dominated daytime talk shows and social media threads across the nation. Legal analysts and tax attorneys swiftly joined in, warning of the disastrous possible repercussions of government liens of this size and which are unpaid. The possibility of Bravo paychecks being seized and wages being garnished was immediate, but the sheer size of the debt meant that both state and federal officials were carefully tracking their financial actions. Fans watched in bemused wonder as articles broke down every dollar, questioning how a couple who lived a life of such luxury could have allowed millions of dollars in unpaid bills to snowball without anybody being the wiser. The public disclosure was a devastating stomach punch for Teresa. She'd worked hard for years to keep up with payment schedules on old debts, but this massive combined burden, all at once, crushed whatever semblance of security she'd been trying to maintain. The cameras, which previously flashed a haze of fairy tale wedding pictures, suddenly shoved themselves in her face, demanding answers about government debt and legal consequences. But as financial forensic experts and investigative journalists started digging into the formal court files, the real imbalance in the couple's financial crisis couldn't be ignored. The headline screamed $3 million together, but the documentation in the details presented a very different, unbalanced picture. The bulk of this devastating burden was on Louie Ruelas, with individual tax liens nearing an eye-watering $2.6 million, in addition to prior lingering claims. By contrast, Teresa was named on a separate lien of just over $300,000. Both pictures sounded ominous to the casual eye, but Louie's huge liability was of a sort that pointed toward systemic, high-level business and personal accounting mistakes. The unpaid tax assessments, which total over $2.6 million, don't come out of nowhere. They are the result of years of unsettled business income, aggressive write-offs, contested corporate windfalls, and ignored government notices. For a man who had pitched himself as an ultra-rich tech giant who could provide Teresa with total stability, the startling amount ripped back the curtain on an empire built on quicksand. Teresa's $300,000 lien was severe, but it was also a familiar administrative burden that she believed was being handled under usual payment arrangements. But to be tied to Louie's massive multi-million-dollar debt changes the game dramatically. The couple had been living together in their extravagant $3.3 million Montville property, and the government's legal actions cast a veil over their joint assets. The news struck Teresa like a ton of bricks. She knew that by marrying Louie with no financial cushion, she'd accidentally dragged her brand, her earnings, and her home straight back into a state-level financial dragnet. The $2.6 million shortfall was a sign that Louie's finances were not just complicated, they were in serious trouble. The official court docket figures told a hard truth. Louie was in hot to his eyeballs, a fact he'd minimized for months. To understand why the news of these multi-million-dollar tax liens hit Teresa Giudice with such paralyzing fear, you have to go back to the darkest period of her life. In 2014, Teresa sat next to her ex-husband, Joe Giudice, in a frigid federal courtroom. He was sentenced by a federal judge to 11 months in jail for conspiracy to commit mail fraud, wire fraud, and bankruptcy fraud. One of the most frightening images in reality television history is the image of Teresa checking into the Federal Correctional Institution in Danbury, Connecticut. She spent almost a year living behind barbed wire walls, sleeping in a bunk bed, washing dishes for pennies an hour, and facing a painful separation from her 4 young girls. When Teresa walked out of those prison gates in late 2015, she was a different woman. She promised herself she would never be oblivious to her finances again, and often warned other women to know their family ledgers. She penned memoirs, took on numerous commercial sponsorships, and worked punishing hours to repay millions in restitution and tax liabilities. She clawed her way back into the ranks of the legitimately affluent by force of will. For Teresa, financial paperwork was never just boring accounting. It was the fault line that had fractured her independence and snatched a mother away from her growing children. The emotional consequences was disastrous when the $3 million tax liens were made public. It wasn't just awful headlines and unsightly tabloid covers. It was dramatic reactivation of underlying trauma. The scary noises of gavel banging, the fear of government envelopes, the ghost of jail visiting rooms, all returned at once. Her 4 daughters, Gia, Gabriella, Melania, and Adriana, had already sacrificed childhoods, witnessing both parents go through the criminal justice system. Teresa stared at the growing tax paperwork and felt a sense of panic. She trusted Louie totally. She thought he was the rock that would keep her safe from ever having to face that nightmare again. But instead, the ghosts of 2014 had come back to torment her, pounding on her front door, threatening to tear away the peace she fought so hard to restore after a decade of trying. The situation inside Teresa and Louie's private sanctuary was intensified by the media attention over the public tax liens. Teresa started to ask to see the real state of the family's finances. She was keen to find out how their liabilities had got so out of hand. But as the layers began to peel away, what she found was so much more than overdue taxes to the government. She learned Louie had been throwing about some big bucks, taking out tons of loans, and making some pretty sketchy business moves without her even knowing. Public records and mortgage filings show Louie was the sole member of the LLC that owned the couple's Montville home, valued at $3.3 million, and had secretly taken out a $1 million loan against the house, and then refinanced the loan to add another $250,000. The opulent mansion they shared was well guarded, or so Teresa thought, until she stumbled across evidence that her roof had been used as collateral without her knowledge. There were also complex corporate linkages, speculative investment schemes, and shifting commercial relationships with huge liabilities. For Teresa, this was an emotional revelation, a breaking. The economic danger was frightening, but the total secrecy went to her heart. She had entered this second marriage in complete transparency, telling herself over and over again that she would never again give up the reins of her home finances naively. Discovering that Louie had hidden loans, rising business problems, and distinct financial difficulties felt like an unforgivable betrayal. The fairy tale story of Louie as the all-powerful provider who had everything together fell apart. Teresa saw that the worst threat to their marriage wasn't the millions in back taxes, but the total breakdown of honesty between them. The damage caused by mismanaging money in secrecy runs far deeper than bank balances. The vast 7,700 square foot estate was intended to be their serene kingdom, a sanctuary of marble foyers and exquisite chandeliers, a private haven from the relentless reality TV cameras. But when the whole extent of the covert loans and tax files was revealed, the home became an emotional pressure cooker. The beautiful, loving energy of their early passion gave way to a thick, smothering quiet, broken by explosive yelling battles that rang down the long hallways late into the night air. Teresa's exasperation was evident. She could no longer act the part of the dutiful, unquestioning wife. The disagreements came nearly every day. She wanted to know what had happened to every lost dollar. Wanted answers from Louie about why their family home had been used as collateral and why he'd kept her in the dark as public documents were being prepared to reveal them to the whole world. For Teresa, every evasive answer was an intentional insult. She witnessed Louie dishing out suave assurances, blaming others for the debts, and attempting to minimize their severity. But the days when Teresa would just naively nod along were long over. The domestic turmoil had a huge toll on the entire blended household. Living with the continual fear of another financial scandal meant you walked on eggshells. Teresa cried behind sealed bedroom doors, physically and emotionally spent, defending a story of marital perfection that was shattering around her. She was afraid of what another public calamity would do to her girls, who had already had far too much turmoil in their young lives. Louie's previously captivating charisma now looked guarded and unpredictable under strain. Their interaction was no longer warm, but chilly looks and passive-aggressive standoffs across the kitchen island. Teresa knew the quiet haven she believed she had established was a complete illusion. Opulence surrounded them, but it could no longer conceal the grim reality. The love bubble had burst for good, and two people who once pledged forever were now bitter enemies under the same roof. Teresa could try to keep up the facade as much as she wanted, but the toxic storm brewing in their house would eventually come out in the open. The show's fans are notoriously sharp-eyed, and it didn't take long for internet sleuths and entertainment blogs to start picking up on the quiet, unmistakable signs of a marriage coming apart. The endless gushing Instagram posts that formerly swamped Teresa's accounts stopped dead. Solo visits to Miami, separate public appearances, and a frosty distance between the duo at red carpet events have sparked fevered discussion on reality TV fan pages and gossip sections. On camera and in press interviews, Teresa resumed her customary defense, trying to brush off rumors of a divorce with practiced grins and dismissive comments. But her tiredness was as evident as her practiced arrogance. Sources close to production said Teresa was scarcely talking to Louie during filming breaks. The dynamic had changed from a united front against outside criticism to a harsh, unspoken Cold War between husband and wife. Once a loudmouth in her devotion to loyalty, this woman now was subtle in her comments about limits, protecting her energy and her children's serenity above all. Meanwhile, Louie's public face became strained and strained. He began spending more time away from New Jersey, traveling often to the West Coast for supposed business projects while he faced lawsuits and constant scrutiny over the $2.6 million tax burden. They were physically apart as they were emotionally apart. Friends noted they no longer talked about daily schedules, living almost separate lives under the spotlight of national media attention. Now, there was no covering them, fissures in the public, All those cryptic podcast quotes, all those missing wedding bands and paparazzi images, and all those awkward red carpet moments stoked the fires of constant rumor that a formal separation was imminent. Teresa found herself at a familiar and terrible fork in the road. She'd been publicly humiliated before, but this time the warning signals were blazing in loud neon. Just when fans believed the drama had peaked with growing debts and shouting bouts, the scandal exploded into a realm of betrayal and infidelity. Rumors began to fly from the West Coast that Louie's many business journeys across the country were not all about corporate agreements. Insider rumors and whispers that Louie was living a secret double life, spending intimate evenings with a lovely woman named Anna. Celebrity blogs and social media sites are reporting that Louie and Anna were seen together in several five-star luxury hotels in the exclusive Hollywood and Beverly Hills neighborhoods. Witnesses reported secret meetings tucked away in dimly lit hotel lounges, private cabanas, and upscale restaurants filled with high-profile elites. Sources say the couple have gone to great lengths to avoid the glare of inquisitive eyes and hostile paparazzi, coordinating staggered exits and traveling in different luxury vehicles to keep their meetings completely out of the tabloid spotlight. Rumors presented a heartbreaking picture of Teresa holding down the fort back in New Jersey, trying to manage household stress and safeguard her family from financial ramifications, while Louie was supposedly enjoying late-night escapades on the opposite coast. The backlash was quick and vicious when the rumors made their way onto social media comment threads and reality TV message boards. So, Bravo followers scrutinized flight logs, examined backdrop reflections and posted photographs, and contrasted dates of Louie's journey with purported sightings. These stories were the last indignity for Teresa to hear. She had previously forgiven messy histories, defended dodgy business activities, and survived the return of financial panic. But the thought of another woman living a secret life beneath the lights of Hollywood shattered whatever tenuous emotional bond had survived. Anna was no longer a rumor. It was the ultimate collapse of respect. The tales whispered in Hollywood hotel bars and late-night sightings were terrible enough, but no one expected the jaw-dropping spectacle that would blast the controversy wide open. What came next sent shockwaves through the entertainment business, leaving reality TV fans, gossip columnists, and Bravo executives frozen in bewilderment. Louie Ruelas didn't take the PR route and make a denial or come out with some vague joint statement with Teresa to smooth things over. Instead, Louie stunned the world with an instant headline-grabbing announcement, appearing before a media throng and camera crew at a high-profile news conference. Louie unleashed a bombshell that effectively vaporized what was left of his marriage, with reporters pushing in and microphones catching every breath. Anna and I are planning our future together. We've decided to officially get married on September 10th. He stood right in front of the press, and the statement seemed more like a Hollywood script than reality. The room exploded into turmoil. Within seconds, announcement footage were spreading throughout the world on social media. Pop culture experts tried to confirm if what they were hearing was real, as reality TV forums broke down under the weight of pure fury and bewilderment. Some online viewers congratulated him on his bold statement of a new beginning, but the overall response from the public was pure rage. Longtime Real Housewives of New Jersey fans decried the sheer chutzpah of announcing a wedding date to another lady while still legally married to Teresa. The public press conference was a harsh, blindsiding humiliation on a world scale for Teresa. He had once pledged everlasting fidelity before a sacred altar, and now, with the flick of a switch, before the entire world, he had thrown away their union. There was no more room for spin, no private explanations that could ever repair the spectacle, no room for reconciliation. The air in their Montville house was freezing dead quiet after the public spectacle of Louie's unexpected disclosure. There were no tables to be overturned, no screaming matches to be staged. Louie turned back to his wife, and the hurried apologies and suave deflections that had formerly helped to charm his way out of tight corners fell hollow. Teresa sat opposite him with a terrible, fixed stillness, like a woman who had cried all her tears and was out of patience at last. Louie had long been protected from the public glare by Teresa, shielded from suspicious castmates and dismissing every hint as outside hostility. But when she saw the harsh truth before her, the $3 million in government tax liens piling, the authorized loans using their common roof as collateral, and now the ultimate public betrayal, the blinders were lifted forever. Teresa gazed into his eyes and said the last words of truth. As devastating as the economic losses were, they were statistics that might eventually be calculated, but the holy basis of trust was broken beyond repair. It was in that silent, deciding instant that the hard-earned lessons of Teresa's history seized entire command at last. She thought of the cold metal doors of federal prison, the torturous separation from her growing girls, the laborious years of repairing her name from absolute destruction. She knew that to stay in this deadly loop was not loyalty, it was self-destruction. She would not let some other man's stupidity put her family's safety and the tranquility she'd worked so hard to gain at risk. Teresa drew a strong line in the sand, quite composed. She told Louie the marriage was on. No private negotiations, no second chances, no more feeding the idea of a bubble of love. The legal papers are filed, the formal separation is final, and Teresa Giudice has taken her first definite steps into a brand new chapter of her life. No longer was there that one-track mind that had been focused on the grueling treadmill of defending a fragile marriage on national television. Now, she had to protect her 4 girls, protect her hard-won empire, and restore the personal liberty she'd sacrificed twice in the name of love. Teresa moved quickly to construct solid firewalls around her brand, surrounded by a fortified legal and financial team. Louie's escalating legal troubles and outstanding debts did not touch any of his company entities, podcast deals, commercial sponsorships, or potential television earnings. The Montville house, once the magnificent background to their shared dreams, was a sign of a stormy time that was now firmly behind her. Walking away from the relationship was painful in the unrelenting glare of paparazzi cameras and daytime chat shows. But it was a strong act of self-preservation. Teresa wouldn't let the specter of her past legal tragedy define her future or drag her family into another financial disaster. Teresa threw herself into her work with a new intensity rather than retreat. She came back to her podcast microphone with raw vulnerability. She grew her business enterprises and proceeded to develop her reputation as the undisputed matriarch of reality television. The story evolved from a woman embroiled in yet another high-profile incident to a survivor who was in complete control of her own fate. Teresa conveyed a message to supporters and detractors every place that she wasn't afraid to stand on her own 2 feet. The fairy story was to bits, but she was not broken yet. Moving forward alone, Teresa showed that wealth, status, and relationships can change fast, but the strength to defend your peace and stand firm against shattered trust is the ultimate redemption. Was Teresa genuinely blindsided by Louie's financial liabilities and secret moves? Or did she ignore glaring red flags just to keep the love bubble alive? When multi-million-dollar debts and broken promises enter a high-profile marriage, is reconciliation ever truly possible? Or was stepping away the only way for Teresa to save herself and her family? And looking ahead, what does an independent, completely unbound Teresa mean for the future of reality television and the Giudice legacy? Drop your answers and theories in the comments below. More update. Get ready for an emotional update from Teresa Giudice and Louie Ruelas as they open up about their marriage, family, and future together. In this video, we'll explore Louie's heartfelt message expressing his love for Teresa, the touching birthday tributes that brought her to tears, and Teresa's latest career revelations. From personal moments to exciting new developments, this update gives fans a closer look at the couple's journey, challenges, and the love that continues to connect them. Stay tuned for all the details. The Real Housewives of New Jersey star Teresa Giudice is giving us a glimpse inside her home life with husband Louie Ruelas. This month has had numerous pleasant celebrations, as both Louie and his mom have birthdays in April. Teresa and the family came together to celebrate Louie on his special day. There were 2 cakes, a Ferrari cake and a cake with blue and white frosting. Both look great. And cameos from their kids at the birthday party. Happy birthday, my love. Love you loads, too. Can't wait to celebrate with you, she said on Instagram, along with a carousel of photographs from the party at their house in New Jersey. She included the hashtag Puerto Rico, which could be a tease of what's next for the couple as they continue to celebrate Louie. But the good times continued. Before that, Louie posted a couple of snaps of his mom's birthday supper on his Instagram. And yes, he did post the most beautiful remark for the matriarch of his family. Happy birthday to the woman who taught me everything there is to know about love, strength, and grace. Thank you for every hug, every sacrifice, and every I love you. We love you, Mommy, he wrote. And Teresa replied, Happy birthday, Mom, love you. Around that time, Teresa put some of the photographs up on her Instagram stories and posted similar birthday wishes to her mother-in-law. Teresa and Louie tied the knot in front of their loved ones in New Jersey in August 2022, 2 years after they began dating. Mark your calendars this summer. They will be celebrating their 4th wedding anniversary. In February, Louie didn't miss a chance to tell Teresa how much he loved her. Things changed from the moment you entered my life. You don't simply light up a room, you light up my world. Your strength, your heart, your passion, and the way you love so fiercely inspires me every single day. He said on Instagram just in time for Valentine's Day. For the fun we share, the quiet times we only understand, and the future we continue to build side by side. Thank you. Loving you is the easiest and the most powerful thing I have ever done. Love you. Also, Teresa had penned her own poignant tribute to Louie, timed with his birthday last April. She wasn't cheap with her devotion for her spouse. You are so gorgeous inside and out, and every day I am reminded of how lucky I am to have you. Your kindness, your generosity, and the way you constantly put others before yourself never goes unnoticed. You have the kindest heart, and you light up life just by being you, she added. Thank you for being such an incredible husband, partner, and everything in between, she said. I love you more than words can ever express. I hope this year brings you as much joy as you bring to everyone around you. You deserve the world and more. I love you to the moon and back. Happy birthday. Let's celebrate you now and always. Learn more about Teresa and how she feels about Louie and what makes him so dear to her. Read Louie Ruelas' heartfelt message for Teresa Giudice, love you so much. That much was evident when he shared a romantic Instagram tribute to her on December 7th as the Real Housewives of New Jersey star Teresa Giudice and Louie Ruelas are in a love bubble that can't be blown. You are the most beautiful girl in the world, Louie said with 2 red heart and 2 heart-eyed emojis, along with a few photographs of the joyful couple on a purple Bravo stage set. I love you so much. Louie added extra hearts to a picture of Teresa blowing a kiss to the camera with Louie looking on smiling. Louie carried his wife of 3 years in his arms in a follow-up shot, laughing. When Teresa reacted in the comment section, she added to the PD APAC post, love you, my red heart emoji. The lovey-dovey message is just the latest after the Montville, New Jersey-based parents wedded I Do back in 2022, mixing Teresa's 4 kids with Luis's 2 sons. RHONJ viewers learned that Teresa was once married to her children's father, Joe Giudice, but the 20-year marriage dissolved after their legal troubles. With Teresa and her second husband, this time around things are real, she stated on the Housewife to Housewife, a new lease on wife panel at BravoCon 2025. I think that second marriages go the distance. just because you know exactly what you want, Teresa revealed during the November 14th event. And of course, I was older. I was 48 when I met Louie. Teresa thought back to her marriage to Joe. Did they ever have passionate love? Joe, he's been around my whole life, she said. I knew Joe. Joe was always okay. He was always there, whenever I wanted to call him. I just believed he'd be a decent husband, a good dad. On the same day as the Housewife to Housewife panel, Louie turned to Instagram to show his support for Teresa. You are fearless, he wrote. You are great. You are attractive outside and inside, and I love you. The married pair recently dined fancy Italian and toasted with Teresa's brother and sister-in-law, Joe Gorga and Melissa Gorga. It was at least some healing in the years-long Giudice-Gorga conflict after a most welcome reconciliation over the BravoCon weekend. Later, when Louie reposted, he said, "Love you guys, team family." Teresa stated that her and Louie's unexpected affair started in 2020 when Louie ran past Teresa a few times as she was working out on the Jersey Shore. They made Instagram official just in time for Christmas that same year, a couple months after Teresa and Joe finalized their divorce. They are really fantastic. Louie's stepdaughters, Gia Giudice, Gabriella Giudice, Melania Giudice, Adriana Giudice. They are wonderful stepdaughters. He confessed in a 2024 episode of Teresa's podcast, Turning the Tables. They see me. I was afraid your daughters wouldn't see me. Louie himself has Nicholas and Louie Jr. from a previous marriage. Check out how Teresa recently assisted her stepson, Louie Jr., on his health journey. Teresa Giudice reveals a detailed career update. Teresa Giudice is working hard on her profession, and there's great stuff coming up soon. The Real Housewives Ultimate Girls trip. Roaring 20th cast member is a mother of 4 girls. But she's also an entrepreneur, podcast host, restaurateur, and author. And today she's giving us the latest updates on all those things. I sat down with Bravo Insider earlier this year, before RHOBH debuted, and shared everything going on in my business right now. She began by announcing that she's coming out with her 3rd memoir, The Queen of New Jersey. I am working on my 3rd book. It's a continuation from the last, I guess, stated the cast member of The Real Housewives of New Jersey. So I had my first one, Turning the Tables, my second one, Standing Strong, and I'm working on my 3rd one. It's from the last 9 years of what I've been through. Due out in November and available for pre-order, The Queen of New Jersey finds Teresa reflecting on the biggest triumphs, heartbreaks, feuds, and controversies of her life with new perspective, according to the publisher. And she'll be opening up on the sacrifices that come with fame, the lessons she's learned through failure, and the wisdom she wishes she could pass on to her younger self. The RHONJ mom is also the new founder of her own skincare firm, Sempre, which she told Bravo Insider means always in Italian. I've got a tat of it. It is on my parents' mausoleum, but Sempre, you always have to wear your skincare. So that's what's going on with me, she said. On May 1st, she used Instagram to outline her concept for the brand, which consists of a cleanser, essence, balms, a serum, and deodorant, and announced its launch. As you know, I have 4 kids, and it was very terrible to see them all suffer with their skin. They did everything they could. Nothing worked. There were so many products with harsh ingredients that were honestly making things worse, she wrote in the caption of the post. And then I had my own skin problem, which took months to get completely cleared up. It made me realize that I needed to know exactly what was occurring on my face and know that it was actually helping my skin. I tried so many items, and when nothing worked for me, I knew I had to make my own routine, and now I can finally share it with you. Teresa has also been busy creating a restaurant with her oldest daughter, Gia Giudice of Next Gen NYC. Gia is driving most of the project as the mother-daughter combination builds an Italian restaurant, Il Vero, in Westwood, New Jersey. We are opening a restaurant. My daughter Gia has it, Teresa remarked. And we have a partner, Maria, and I'm going to assist her run the diner. Gia took to her TikTok account on July 21st for a sneak preview before Il Vero opens, revealing that her whole family would be having dinner there for the first time. And no, the restaurant is not open yet, coming very soon, she admitted. We have a set menu, and it's going to have some of the foods we're going to have at the restaurant. She said, some of the dishes on the menu tonight are grilled octopus, chicken saltimbocca, steak pizzaiola. Honestly, a lot of our favorites. It's going to be perfect. Teresa Giudice gets emotional birthday tributes from Louie Ruelas. Teresa Giudice is another year older today, and she's getting so much love, love, love. The Real Housewives of New Jersey mom of four turned 54 years old on May 18th and was showered with so many well wishes on her birthday from her loved ones, including her husband, Louie Ruelas. Louie took to Instagram to upload a series of pictures of Teresa in front of a step and repeat, standing in front of a staircase and kissing him on the beach. To my everything, Teresa. Happy birthday, he captioned the pic. You are the heart of our home, the hands that hold us together, and the strength that inspires everyone around you. And as a fierce leader and trendsetter, you don't just follow the light, you create it. Thank you for loving us the way you do. Love you forever. You're pure magic as a mom, he continued, giving an intimate look into their relationship today. You are my biggest blessing as my wife. Teresa's brother, Joe Gorga, and his wife, Melissa, reconnected with Teresa last year and both wished her a happy birthday. Melissa headed to Instagram where she'd shared so many photos of herself and her sister-in-law over the years. So many years, so many memories. Ups, downs, forwards, backwards. But most essential of all, we always get to see the light. Have a good day. Love you, she told Teresa. Joe posted an old photo of him and Teresa on his Instagram and highlighted how much they have grown through the years. Happy birthday, sis, he captioned the post. Teresa's four daughters also took to Instagram to wish their mom a happy birthday. Teresa's second youngest daughter, Melania Giudice, posted a photo with her mom on vacation in Europe on Instagram. Happy birthday to my favorite person in the world, she wrote in the caption of the post. You are the most beautiful. I love you so much, Mama. Teresa Giudice's second oldest daughter, Gabriella Giudice, took to her story, where she shared a photo of herself and Teresa drinking off of a glass of wine. I love you so much. You deserve it. Your special day, she wrote over the photo. Her youngest daughter, Adriana Giudice, also wrote a touching note to her. No one like you, really, she wrote. Thank you for loving me the way that you do, for always being there for me no matter what, and for making my life so much better by being in it. You are the most kind, unselfish, and amazing person I know. Louie Ruelas Jr., Teresa's eldest son, wrote on his Instagram story in a message of appreciation for Teresa on her big day. I am lucky to be your daughter. Over a lone image of him and Teresa on the beach, he wrote, Happy birthday to the best step mom I could ask for. Love you. Gia Giudice, Teresa's eldest daughter and Next Gen NYC cast member, posted the nicest tribute to her mom on Instagram on Monday. She took to the social networking platform where she posted a throwback photo of her and Teresa when she was a little kid as they both smiled at the camera. If only I could be that small in your arms again, but the fact is I still feel your love guarding me every single day, she wrote. She went on to share her aspirations for her mom in the rest of the caption. Thank you for everything you do and all the sacrifice you have made for our family. You are the strongest, most inspiring lady I know, and I look up to you more than words can convey, she continued. I hope this year brings you endless joy, serenity, love, and all your heart wishes, because no one deserves it more than you. You light up every room you go into with your smile, your enthusiasm, and just being there. You are unstoppable, and I am so lucky to call you my mom. Let us know in the comments and stay tuned by subscribing to our channel to get more updates like this. Thank you.